We begin, though, this morning with the last big holiday travel weekend of this chaotic and certainly expensive summer.
Surveys tell us an estimated 137 million Americans are planning a Labor Day weekend getaway. And after a summer of frustrating flight delays and cancellations, more than 80% of those holiday travelers say they're going to go by car. We have team coverage this morning. NBC News meteorologist Michelle Grossman is going to have the weekend forecast in just a moment. But first, we have NBC News correspondent George Solis joining us from just off the New Jersey Turnpike near Philadelphia. George, good morning to you. So the first stop for a lot of these weekend trips is going to be the gas station to fill up. What are gas prices looking like right now?
Hey, good morning, Joe and Savannah. Yes, a lot of people here in the Garden State getting an early start on that holiday travel. As you can see behind me, many are making the first pit stop here to get that gas. Gas prices somewhat better than they have been over the last several weeks. I'm sure many have taken note, but they are still high. And so with that, we can take a look at the national average for a gallon of regular right now. It's sitting at around $3.81. A month ago, a staggering $4.19. And this time last year, gas a bargain at $3.18. So still people here coming to fill up those tanks as they get ready to get on the road to wherever destination. As you mentioned, many expected to go by car. Travel experts saying that this year, there are some concessions to be aware of, especially if you cross state lines. Take a listen.
Anyone crossing state lines could see gas prices plummet or spike significantly, keeping in mind the big difference between state gasoline taxes. Some states continue to have their gas tax holiday. In Florida, for example, the gas tax holiday starts in October. So I would urge motorists to shop around, download an app like Google or Gas Buddy or Waze.
Yeah, another piece of advice, once you find that bargain gas, definitely fill up your tank. Don't wait to get to the next stop or cross that state line and find some sticker shock when you start to fill up.
Hey, George, first, the New Jersey Turnpike is a scary place to drive, so I imagine it's a scary place to stand on the side of. So thanks for being out there for us and be safe. Now, road trips, of course, also mean eating out. For me, it always means Wendy's, but we've seen restaurant prices continue to climb across the country. What should people know when they're picking where to eat on this road trip?
Yeah, well, who doesn't love a good fast food road trip meal, right? Some things that you should be aware of at this point, though. Inflation certainly having an impact. Not as much as you find at the grocery store, but some restaurants have had to adjust some of their meals. One example, one analyst used Whopper at Burger King being taken off the discount menu, and that chicken nugget set that you love at 10 pieces, well, it's been cut down to 8. And so when you walk into some of these restaurants, you might find that those bargain meals and deals may not be what you remember, but experts say don't be discouraged, though. They're not looking to totally revamp the menu there. So there are some things to consider. Take a listen.
Restaurant food has actually gone up in price. It has seen smaller price increases than grocery food on average. The rate of inflation is lower for restaurant food over the last 6 months in the U.S. The goal of any QSR chain when making these kind of menu changes is to not overdo it. If you walk in and it's a completely different restaurant than you remember, then on some level that hasn't worked.
Again, so you're not walking in to find that the entire menu has changed, but if you are a fan of, say, those chicken nuggets, this one's going to sting a little bit.
All right, George Solis reporting on various types of fuel for the holiday weekend. George, thank you so much.
Including chicken nuggets. Yeah. Thanks. All right, now temperatures are set to soar into the triple digits on the West Coast this holiday weekend, which means dangerous conditions for firefighters in Southern California, where a wildfire has grown to more than 5,000 acres in the hills of Los Angeles County.
Let's bring in NBC News meteorologist Michelle Grossman for more on the conditions, plus storms forming in the east. Michelle, good morning.
Hey there, guys. Great to see you. And yeah, we're going to have a busy weekend. We're still dealing with the heat. That's going to be until next week. And also, some of us will need an umbrella as we go throughout this Labor Day weekend. So starting out with the heat, triple-digit temperatures. Once again, we had a hot day yesterday. The temperatures will soar once again today. 45 million impacted by a heat advisory, heat alert. Heat advisory is in the orange. Heat warning is in the pink. So Sacramento, Fresno, Los Angeles, San Diego, you are under an excessive heat warning. And wait until you see these temperatures, because today we're going to see those temperatures climb fast and they're going to climb high. So we're looking at temperatures 109 in Fresno, 108 in Las Vegas, 109 in Palmdale, Salt Lake City. You're going to be close to 100 degrees once again. And tomorrow we're going to find no relief. We're looking at temperatures, so many temperatures in the triple digits. Billings 101, Salt Lake City 102, Las Vegas 108. And as we go throughout the weekend, we're going to see temperatures so high in Sacramento, 111 by Monday, Tuesday 110, Death Valley 125 by Monday. If we see 126 in Death Valley, that will be the hottest temperature ever recorded on Earth in the month of September. So we're going to be watching that. Los Angeles, you're hot too on Sunday 101, temperatures in the 90s Monday and Tuesday. So that's the heat story. We're also tracking the chance for some storms today, strong to severe storms in the upper Midwest to the upper Great Lakes, the Central Plains, winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour. Could see some hail. Those are the two greatest threats, but also watching the chance for some heavy downpours that could lead to some localized flash flooding. Flash flooding and also a concern in the south. We're looking at a stationary front that's still there. We're looking at showers and storms from Texas to the Gulf Coast into the southeast, not only today, but tomorrow and unfortunately into the holiday weekend. So it remains very soggy there. And we're looking at rainfall totals 1 to 3 inches. Could see pockets of heavier amounts where we see those heaviest downpours. The greatest chance would be in parts of southern Texas. So San Antonio, Corpus Christi, Houston, you could see a very wet weekend. So as we kick off the holiday weekend, it's a really nice start in the Northeast, the New England area. We're looking at temperatures in the 70s and 80s. Humidity levels continue to be low, and we continue that nice weather on Saturday. But that changes on Sunday in the Northeast. We'll talk more about that next hour. Back to you guys.
All right.
Thanks, Michelle.
Sure.
And now let's get to President Biden's primetime speech last night, where he blasted former President Trump and what he called MAGA Republican extremists. Speaking from Philadelphia's Independence Hall, the president insisted he's not against what he calls mainstream Republicans, but warned election deniers and anyone who promotes political violence are a threat to democracy.
Too much of what's happening in our country today is not normal. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. History tells us that blind loyalty to a single leader and a willingness to engage in political violence is fatal to democracy.
For more, we're joined now by NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba. Monica, good morning. Always great to have you with us. So first, just tell us your big takeaways from last night's speech. What stood out to you?
Well, Savannah, over the last week, we saw this ramp up to the president's most pointed, most passionate argument for the midterm elections. But last night was absolutely the most intense language that he has used. He's talked about this continued battle for the soul of the nation, and he tried to put this in very stark terms when it comes to Democrats versus Republicans, again, singling out specifically his predecessor. But take a listen to how he talked about the threats he argued that some of those Republicans pose to our own rights and freedom, he said. Take a listen.
MAGA forces are determined to take this country backwards to an America where there is no right to choose, no right to privacy, no right to contraception, no right to marry who you love. They promote authoritarian leaders, and they fan the flames of political violence that are a threat to our personal rights, to the pursuit of justice, to the rule of law, to the very soul of this country.
And the president did call out any mention or threats of political violence there, talking even about the recent threats against law enforcement and the FBI after the search at former President Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago. So the president tying these bigger themes to really what's going on right now that he says is really dividing the country, trying to make this call for unity in what the White House said wasn't supposed to be a political speech. But that is where some of the fierce criticism and backlash came pretty swiftly, Savannah.
Yeah, Monica, tell us more about the reaction from Republicans.
So specifically, we did see many Republicans criticize not just what the president said in his speech, but also the optics, the fact that there were two Marines standing at attention behind him, those deep red colors. They attacked all of that and criticized it as arguing it was a divisive speech instead of what the president and the White House were hoping would be more unifying. Here is Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy on his takeaway from the president's speech.
Joe Biden has launched an assault on the soul of America, on its people, on its laws, on its most sacred values. He has launched an assault on our democracy. President Biden has chosen to divide, demean, and disparage his fellow Americans.
All of this, of course, Savannah, sets up the sprint to the midterms. That's what this is about. The president testing a midterm strategy and message, with Republicans trying their own, given polls have shifted to show Democrats have a little bit of momentum, potentially the White House trying to hold on to that while Republicans take strong aim.
And potentially something we could see more of. Monica Alba, thank you so much.
Now to the ongoing legal battle between former President Donald Trump and the Department of Justice over those documents seized at his Mar-a-Lago residence. Yesterday, lawyers from both sides faced off in court for the first time since FBI agents executed a search warrant on the property. NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard joins us now from West Palm Beach in Florida. So, Vaughn, this hearing was about a request by Trump's lawyers to appoint that special master, a third party, to oversee the seized documents. But the judge did not immediately rule on that request, right? I mean, walk us through some of the main arguments we heard on both sides.
That's right. The judge said in due course that she will deliver not an oral ruling, but one that is written. So could that be today, over the weekend, next week? It's not quite clear here. This is a back and forth that really started about a week ago when the Trump team requested that a so-called special master, which would be a third party, somebody with top security clearance, would come in and review the documents. Right now, that process is taking place within the Department of Justice. FBI investigators, there's a filter team that is reviewing all of these documents to see if there's any that perhaps fall under attorney-client privilege that investigators should not look at. But then they've turned over those documents to the FBI investigative team that is looking at the potential criminal conduct of the possession of having these classified documents at the Mar-a-Lago property, the private residence, in the office and a storage room here at Mar-a-Lago. The question is, ultimately, will Trump team's request for this special master go through, and what impact would it even have? Potentially just delaying, or could they potentially set aside some other documents that were not originally set aside? There are question marks about what the impact of this judge's ruling could be.
So, Vaughn, the judge also ruled that a more detailed list of what the FBI actually seized is going to be made public. That's something Trump's lawyers also wanted. Do we know, is the DOJ prepared for that?
Right. The Trump team is asking for the unsealing of this more detailed list. Of course, what we have seen so far has been heavily redacted, not only the affidavit, but also the search warrant execution. And what the judge indicated that she was ready to unseal was a more detailed list of that search warrant execution list, the property receipt, what exactly the FBI removed from the Mar-a-Lago property. Now, a big part of this is that Trump lawyers, they may very well not know themselves exactly what documents were seized here. You know, Donald Trump just brought on a new lawyer, former Florida Solicitor General, to help him here. And there are a lot of question marks because other custodian of his records signed off in early June that they had turned over as part of a subpoena request all the relevant documents. But then 2 months later, the DOJ executes that search warrant and pulls in nearly double the number of classified documents. And so that's where the Trump team wants to have a better understanding themselves of exactly what the Department of Justice is investigating and in possession of.
And Vaughn, it seems like every week there's something new in this case. Real quickly, what comes next now in this legal battle?
Right, we're going to hear about the special master most likely in the next coming days here about whether that special master will be appointed or not. But I think it's also important to take into account here the Department of Justice continues its investigation into efforts to overturn the 2020 election. We know there are conversations about former President Trump's role here. And when the Department of Justice is looking at these cases here, at these investigations, they very much begin to overlap. And you could see the potential parallel of these two investigations leading to, potential indictments, not only of the former president, but of their potential allies here in the coming months.
All right, Vaughn Hilliard basking in the golden light of a Florida sunrise. Vaughn, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.